And we're back. Welcome back to the Nations League predictions series. It is time for Match Day 2, Day 2, after a night where I thought I was going to be laughing at Scotland for getting absolutely thrashed by Portugal. Instead, I'm laughing at Scotland for getting another last-minute winner given against them, this time from Cristiano Ronaldo after Lewandowski in the opening day. In terms of the actual predictions, it was 5 out of 9 for me yesterday. Not the best, but not the worst. The group of Northern Ireland, Luxembourg, Belarus and Bulgaria. I said both games were going to be 1-0, but sadly they were 1-0 the other way round. Then the absolute chaos of the Gibraltar-Liechtenstein game, 90 plus 7, 90 plus 14 for a 2-2 draw. And then to be fair, Denmark did get the 2-0 win in their game, which I did not predict, in another night that was full of red cards. What is with all the red cards in the Nations League at the moment? But overall, it means my Nations League results are now at 17 out of 35, so we're still not quite at 50%, which is a little disappointing, and only one correct score. But our season results are looking pretty good, 75 out of 128. But as we move on to today's fixtures, I will say this before we get going. This is the hardest lot of predictions in this Nations League we have had so far. I genuinely believe, outside of one game, all of the other 7, you could make legitimate arguments for all of the other 7 games going both ways. I think there's only one game that's an absolute dead cert tonight. So before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video and subscribing to the channel if you're new around here. We've got one more day of Nations League predictions to go. And obviously, I'm still doing all of my other international predictions over on the community page. Link to that's available at the top of the screen and in the pinned comment of the video. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Nations League Match Day 2, Day 2, and we start off with League C Group 2. And we start with Cyprus taking on Kosovo in the first of all these games that I genuinely do believe could go either way. Now, these two sides met in the 2022 version of the Nations League, and on both of those occasions, Kosovo came out on top, both home and away. However, Kosovo have been on a really poor run of form recently, and obviously in their opening game of this Nations League, they lost 3-0 at home to Romania, whereas Cyprus were able to see off Lithuania with a 1-0 win, meaning that it's 2 wins from 2 for Cyprus, and no wins, and I believe 6 for Kosovo. So even though I look at this fixture, and I genuinely do believe that Kosovo should be considered the strong favourites for this, I'm actually going to go for 1-0 to Cyprus. Kosovo, I think, haven't scored in something like any of their last 3 or 4 matches. Like I say, Cyprus have won their last 2. Again, Kosovo should win this game. But the way Cyprus have been playing, I can definitely see them getting at least a draw in this one. And I'm going to go for the 1-0 win. The other game in this group is Romania against Lithuania. And this is the only game today that I think is an absolute dead cert. Obviously, Romania smashed Kosovo away. Lithuania lost to Cyprus. Romania are 90 positions ahead of Lithuania in the world rankings. And obviously, Romania are at home. I'm going to go for 4-0 to Romania. It genuinely could be more. This could be an absolute rout. If Lithuania get anything from this match, it will be a genuine shock, in my opinion. So for me, Romania, absolute dead cert to win that game. On to League B. There were no games in League B yesterday, so there are 2 groups in League B today. And we start off with League B Group 3, and it is Norway against Austria. Now, really tough. Again, this one, like I say, all these games so tough from this point onwards. Norway's form is incredibly poor, and they are struggling to score goals, which is really weird to say considering their front line is Haaland, Sorloth and Odegaard. But they're struggling to score goals. They didn't even score against Kazakhstan. Then you look at Austria, who play some fantastic football, but ultimately were held to a 1-1 draw by Slovenia, which realistically they probably shouldn't have done. So I'd now go into this game going, I think this one will be a bit more open. Norway were the dominant side against Slovenia. Austria were the dominant side. Norway were the dominant side against Kazakhstan. Austria were the dominant side against Slovenia. So now you've got 2 sides that both like to dominate play and create chances coming up against each other in a situation where neither side would want to be defensive. So this time I can actually see there being a lot of goals in this game, and it's just going to be a case of who splits it. I can't split them right now, so I'm actually going to go for a 2-2 draw. But genuinely could see this one going either way. The other game in the group is, of course, the sides that were the defensive ones of the pairs in the opening round of fixtures. Slovenia holding Austria to the 1-1, Kazakhstan holding Norway to the 0-0. What's more interesting about this is that these two sides were in the same Euro qualifying group last year, and on both occasions Slovenia won 2-1. And on top of that, Slovenia are also unbeaten in their last 14 games at home. Obviously, we know Kazakhstan are going to go in with their defensive approach once again, but I think Slovenia are going to have enough to get the result, especially being at home. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Slovenia this time, as Kazakhstan have failed to score, obviously, against Norway. From there, we move on to Group B, League B, Group 4, and the opening game tonight in that group is Montenegro taking on Wales. Now, again, really, really tough to call. You would have to think that Wales have to be considered the favourites for this one. Montenegro lost 2-0 to Iceland in the opening fixture. Wales drew with Turkey. But the interesting thing about Wales is they've not got a single goal in any of their last 4 matches. That said, if you actually look at the balance of play in the Turkey match, Wales were by far the better team. 65% possession, something like nearly 20 shots on goal to Turkey's, I think, 6 or 7. So fair play to Wales for actually dominating Turkey, which is a real good achievement. And I think up against the Montenegro side that, like I said, has just lost to Iceland, I think if Wales can go into this game with the same approach they had against Turkey, ultimately against a weaker side, they should end out coming up on top. So I'm going to go for 2-1 to Wales. I can still see Montenegro getting themselves a goal. Maybe, maybe not. But I think Wales, if they play the way they've played, surely the goals are going to start coming. But like I say, be careful about that as a prediction, because Wales have failed to score in all of their last 4. Other game in that group, of course, sees Turkey taking on Iceland, as we've just spoken about. Turkey, arguably outplayed by Wales in that 0-0 draw. Iceland, very, very good in their 2-0 win over Montenegro, and a certain returning Gylfi Sigurdsson coming into the side, making a big difference for them, as he always used to do. Is he going to be enough to get a result against Turkey tonight? It remains to be seen, but I don't know. I think, again, this could be a really, really close one. I think Turkey haven't been at their best in the last couple of games. Obviously, they did have a relatively good Euros, but if they play the way they did against Wales, Iceland could definitely get something. I'm going to go for a very hesitant 2-1 win to Turkey. I think on paper, Turkey should win this match. But if Iceland play the way they played against Montenegro, they might just get themselves something. That then brings us to League A, and it is Group 2 in action tonight. And the opening game there sees France taking on Belgium after the French were heavily beaten and completely outclassed by Italy at home just 3 nights ago. They now come against a Belgian side that absolutely blew Israel away in their group opener. And there is massive, massive pressure on Didier Deschamps. I think maybe not in terms of his actual job, but there is big pressure on him to actually produce a result in this game just because of how poor France have been. They were awful at the Euros. They were completely outplayed by Italy the other night. And I look at this game now and think, can they really turn their fortunes around in just 3 days? There's been news of a big dressing room bust-up after the match where, you know, Mbappe was apparently shocked at the way it all was. He's obviously now the French captain. And I think Belgium are in a better state right now, and I think they can capitalise on the French, who have had a really poor start to this tournament. And I'm going to go 2-1 to Belgium. Don't get me wrong. If all those French players click, we know how good they are, and they should ultimately beat the Belgian side. But Belgium can be a very good, well-organised team on their day. They've obviously got the likes of De Bruyne in there that are going to want to rip up that midfield. Very, very good battle, as always, when it comes to De Bruyne against Kante, if that is going to be the case once again. But I think Belgium might just edit tonight. I'm going for 2-1 to Belgium. And then finally, it is Israel against Italy, which I think is probably the other game where you could say Italy would definitely be considered the very, very strong favourites for this. But Israel at home definitely could produce something. For me, though, I think if Italy are going to France and winning 3-1, to then throw away a performance like that by then dropping points to Israel would be a genuine surprise. I'm not going to go on along the same lines of Israel getting a result against Italy being the same as Lithuania getting a result against Romania, but I think it would certainly be an upset if Israel got a result tonight, whereas Lithuania would be a genuine shock to the system. So I'm going to go 3-1 to Italy. Same result as it was for Belgium against Israel. Same result as it was for Italy against France. Maybe could end up being a couple more, but I think Italy will be a little bit more conservative in that regard and just make sure they get the win. But that will round off all of today's predictions. Thank you very much for watching and listening as always. I'll be back once again tomorrow morning for the final round of Nations League Match Day 2 action. I will see you there.